Hello class, this is a video tutorial for the Chapter 7 homework from the Fundamentals of Corporate Finance text, 3rd edition by Perino, Kidwell, and Bates. So for this video, I am just going to go over two of the Excel homework problems, question 7.3 and 7.5. A lot of the other questions are essay questions for this particular chapter, so we won't be going over those. So let's begin. Question 7.3 reads, expected returns. You have chosen biology as your college major because you would like to be a medical doctor. However, you find that the probability of being accepted to medical school is about 10%. If you are accepted to medical school, then your starting salary when you graduate will be $300,000 per year. However, if you are not accepted, then you would choose to work in a zoo, where you will earn $40,000 per year. Without considering the additional educational years or the time value of money, what is your expected starting salary as well as the standard deviation of that started salary? As someone who has a lot of physicians in his family, I can tell you that a starting salary of $300 a year is not the reality. But just roll with the example. All right, so let's unhide this. The first thing that we're going to do, as always, is identify the given. So here we have two events: accepted into medical school and then working in a zoo. So the probability of getting accepted into medical school is 10% with a salary of $300K. You wish, but that's what the problem says. And working in a zoo, probability is 90%. So there's a 90% chance that we can work in a zoo, and the salary is $40,000. So these two obviously equal 100. So you're basically looking at either or option. So the first thing that we need to do is, well, we need to do two things. One, we have to find the expected starting salary. And then two is we have to find the standard deviation of the starting salary. Alright, so now let's unhide this. The next step is to identify the starting salary, and all you really do, and this is me putting the Excel formula into a word so it can be understood, is all you do is the salary multiplied by the probability plus the salary multiplied by the probability. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do the salary times the probability plus the salary times the probability. And that's what you do here. We just put equals, you click the 300K times the 10%. You don't really have to close parentheses because of order of operation. It's always going to do the multiplication and then the additions. It's going to do the multiplications first and then the additions last. But when you're doing formulas in Excel, it's always good practice to inform Excel which problems you wanted to do first. So you wanted to do this side first, then that side, and then add together. So when you do that and you work it out, it ends up being $66,000. So that's your answer. What is your expected starting salary as well as the standard deviation of the starting salary? So that's the next part of the problem, right? So expected starting salary, either way, 66,000. Sorry. Alright, so the next step is to identify the standard deviation of the starting salary. This is the one that's a little bit more complicated. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is to look up the standard deviation formula in the book and then apply. Before you do this, I recommend that you just Google standard deviation and watch a very short video on standard deviation if you've seen the videos in this unit and you don't get it, and just kind of become familiar with what standard deviation means. Okay, just understand what a mean is, the average, and then deviation from the mean, and then you'll have a better understanding of what standard deviation is. So what we do is we do the medical school salary minus the expecting starting salary, and then we square it times the probability for medical school, and then we have to add that to the zoo salary minus the expecting starting salary, for which is this, squared times the probability of working in a zoo to the and then not squared but to the 0.5 power, and it's a lot, I know. But when you do it, this is what it ends up looking like. you have multiple parentheses because you're doing it in sections. So if we look at this half as this as one half and then this as another half, it makes a little bit more sense, right? So then we have to do just set up 4 parentheses for now, and then you want to do the expected salary of being in medical school minus the expecting starting salary that you figure out in step 2, close parentheses, and then put it to the second power. So then you do the shift and then 6, which will give you this symbol, and then 2, close parentheses, times E15 in this case, which is the probability of being accepted to medical school, close parentheses, plus, and then just set up your 3 parentheses. It'll make a little sense when you're done with it. And then the first thing that you're going to do is the salary of working in a zoo minus the expecting starting salary, close parentheses, to the second power, close parentheses again, times E17, which in this case is the probability of working in a zoo, close parentheses twice, and then again the and then close parentheses 0.5. You don't have to put the parentheses, but I did it just because I think that it helps explain a little bit more like what you're doing, so you can see this as maybe 3 separate sections. And then when you do that, it comes out to 78,000. All right, a little bit more involving. Now, the second problem that we're going to go over in this video is 7.5, single asset portfolios. Stocks A, B, and C have expected returns of 15, 15, and 12% respectively, while their standard deviations are 45%, 30%, and 30% respectively. If you were considering the purchase of each of these stocks as the only holding in your portfolio and the risk-free rate is 0%, which stock should you choose? So we identify the given. We have 3 stocks, right? Stock A with a 15% expected return, 45% standard deviation. Stock B with 15% returns, 30% standard deviation. And stock C with 12% expected returns and 30% standard deviation. So the only thing that you're doing here is you're analyzing the 3 and then determining which stock you should choose. All right? So the second step is to find, typo, I always do this when I don't have enough coffee. Okay, need to find out the coefficient of variation. So you want to look at the formula in chapter 7 of your text so you understand coefficient of variation. It's not hard. It's just the standard deviation multiplied by the expected return. That's it. So we set up here the coefficients. So we know that the standard deviation times the expected return for stock A is 3. That's a coefficient. For stock B, it is 30% times 15%, that gives us 2. And then for stock C, that gives us 30% times 12%, which equals 2.5. So the answer is that you would choose stock B. Why? Because it has less volatility. So I want to show you what volatility means in a graphic that I think will help you. So let's pretend that we're looking at stock, right? And then this is I guess a timeline, right? And then let's pretend that you have a stock that goes like this, right? Over time, it just goes up and up and up, right? Okay, so you can kind of guess what it's going to look like over here in this period, right? Let's call this, I don't know, let's call this December, right? You can kind of guess because it has a pretty steady path. It is not volatile. So this stock right here is not volatile, which means that it's not all over the place. However, if you have another stock that's kind of does this, right? You have no idea where it's going to be in this period. You can't even guess because it's so volatile, meaning that it's all over the place, that you can tell that it's a risky stock, right? So this one is less volatile than the rest. So you can, if the expected return is 15%, standard deviation is 30, you determine that the coefficient is the smallest, so you would go for this one. So now you know if you have a similar problem, that this is what you would do with the coefficient. And this concludes the video for Chapter 7 homework. from the Fundamentals of Corporate Finance text, 3rd edition by Perino, Kidwell, and Bates. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and I'll be more than happy to assist. Have a great day.